How long would it take to go to Saturn? Saturn has been a fascinating planet to study ever since Galileo turned his telescope toward it in 1610. Over time, scientists have gained a vast lot of knowledge about the universe and our solar system. Despite this, there are many instances in which our current technology is limiting us. But humans will soon be able to overcome these constraints. Interstellar travel is one such restriction. Even though we have sent numerous spacecraft to various locations within our solar system and even some beyond it, sending humans is a very different challenge. How lengthy would the voyage be if we made the decision to explore this lovely planet in the future? In this video, let's speak about all of that and more. One of the most stunning planets in our solar system is Saturn. One of its most distinctive features is its rings. It frequently appears in the night sky as a hazy yellow planet, and viewing it via binoculars or a telescope makes it seem quite close. In actuality, it is a great distance away. One of the most stunning and fascinating planets in the solar system is Saturn. Scientists have been intrigued by it for decades, if not centuries. It shows an early period in the formation of the solar system in accordance with Laplace's theory of cosmogony. Saturn intrigues people for a variety of reasons, though not just this one. Researchers were also looking for answers to other issues, such as how Saturn got its rings. Why are the circles painted in various hues? What causes the flimsy self-luminescence of this object? Does Saturn have more moons in its orbit? There are also Saturn's other moons, which astronomers find to be even more fascinating. Scientists were able to observe phenomena that had never been seen before because of the Cassini expedition, which we shall discuss shortly. Saturn's moon Titan is another candidate for having life on it. The investigation of Saturn is made even more intriguing by its neighboring moons, such as Enceladus. Due to all of these factors, including the potential for a human base on one of Saturn's moons, exploring Saturn may one day overtake exploring Mars as humanity's primary objective. We first need to comprehend how far away Saturn actually is before we can travel there. Would it be a long journey for us to reach the planet with the rings? What difficulties would a human trip encounter? To avoid jumping ahead, let's start with the simplest concept first: Saturn's distance from Earth. Saturn follows an elliptical journey around the Sun, just like our planet Earth does. In relation to the planet that orbits Earth, its orbit is tilted by 2.4 degrees. Finding the separation between the planets is therefore no simple task. The amount of time it takes to get to a location on Earth may vary based on the route you choose, just as going to a location on Saturn may change depending on the path you take. The distance between the two planets is constantly fluctuating as they move through space. When they are closest, they are around 1.2 billion kilometers, 746 million miles, distant, which is 8 times farther than the distance between the Earth and the Sun. When they are 11 times farther apart than the Earth and the Sun, they are a little over a billion miles, 1.7 billion kilometers, apart when they are on opposite sides of the Sun. The distances between the planets can change dramatically over time because they migrate into ellipses. Research indicates that on December 21, 1914, Earth and Saturn were 1,201 billion kilometers apart. It is impossible to send Cassini and other spacecraft directly toward Saturn. They can't slow down when they need to because they are too heavy and weak. Instead, Cassini was traveling in the direction of Venus when it twice passed by it, along with Earth and Jupiter. These flybys gave Cassini the ability to accelerate by taking use of each planet's gravitational pull. Saturn orbits the Sun every 29.5 Earth years and travels through space at a speed of almost 21,000 miles per hour. Saturn appears to move backwards in the night sky when Earth quickly passes it once every little less than a year as it spins past it. There have been numerous earlier spacecraft dispatched to Saturn with the goal of exploring the planet. Depending on the path they traveled, each took a varied amount of time to reach Saturn. The planet's distance from us has already been discussed. We can calculate how long it would take to travel to the gas giant using these numbers. And it's always interesting to discuss probes and missions that have previously been dispatched to Saturn when we talk about reaching a planet. 4 missions in total have traveled to the ring planet. There were flyby missions on 3 of them, as opposed to Cassini-Huygens, which operated in orbit around Saturn from 2004 to 2017. Scientists must pick which path to pursue while sending spacecraft. More fuel can be burned to travel farther and faster, but there are also fuel-efficient techniques that can save a lot of money. In addition, there are other obstacles in this case besides money. High-speed satellites have a hard time slowing down to the right velocity and settling into a celestial body's orbit. However, spacecraft are designed to pass by planets with the aim of just glancing at the planet and snapping a few pictures before flying off to explore the uncharted territory ahead, much like any usual excursion through a dimly lit planetarium giving you a tour of the solar system. A flyover is what this is called. The Pioneer 11, Voyagers, and New Horizons missions were the 3 flyby missions. Pioneer 11 was launched in April 1973 and arrived at Saturn in 1979 after traveling there for almost 7 years, or around 6.5 years. It took Voyager 1 3 years and 2 months to reach Saturn after its 1977. Voyager 2 was launched 1 month before Voyager 1, but it took 4 years and arrived at Saturn in August 1981. The spacecraft that traveled the farthest to reach Saturn was Cassini-Huygens. By exploiting the gravitational influences of other planets, it was launched in 1997 and reached Saturn 7 years later, in 2004. The spacecraft from New Horizons arrived at Saturn the quickest, doing so in 2 years and 4 months. But why do these spacecraft take so much longer than one another? The amount of time it takes to travel to a planet in our solar system depends on a variety of factors. In addition to the criteria already discussed, scientists must choose the path and method to use while launching a space mission. The first important deciding factor is whether the spacecraft is sent directly toward Saturn or whether it is sent toward another celestial object of the solar system and only needs to use Saturn's gravitational potential energy to slingshot itself. Several spacecraft are launched in the direction of other astronomical objects before reaching Saturn. A spaceship must slow down if it is simply going to fly by Saturn, but if it is going to orbit Saturn, its journey there will take longer. Another key issue to consider is the type of engine powering the spacecraft, including whether it is fuel efficient or not. Understanding the different routes to Saturn requires understanding what we meant earlier when we said flyby. Let's discuss these prior missions to the gas giant while keeping these factors in mind. Cassini and Pioneer 11 made use of the gravitational pull of many planets before arriving at Saturn. Years were added to their journey by flybys of other planets. The first observations of Voyager 1 and 2 occurred around Saturn as they traveled through the solar system much more quickly. The New Horizons spacecraft differs from the aforementioned missions in a number of significant ways. The 2 main differences are that it was launched on a single trajectory past Saturn on its way to Pluto and that it possesses the most advanced engine currently available. You must understand that you do not move in a straight line through space. Most of the time spent traveling is used to slow down. If you do not slow down, Saturn's gravitational pull will not be able to pull you in, and you will fly beyond Saturn and into the depths of space. However, it was how long it took the space probe to get to Saturn. Why not send people to Saturn? Could we make the trip shorter? There may be many additional considerations if we discuss taking people to Saturn, and the missions themselves would likely take longer than the spaceship. Numerous aspects need to be considered. The mass that is moving to Saturn comes in first. Robotic spacecraft are already fairly heavy, so adding people, along with their needs for food and water, could triple the weight of the craft. It means that to launch safely, you would need twice the power. A 4-person journey to Saturn would take over 72,000 pounds of food just to get there, and much more to return, according to NASA's prediction that a crew of 4 would need 12,000 pounds of food annually. All of the research and life support tools would also need to be launched into orbit from Earth. Considering everything, it would take people at least 8 years to go to Saturn. However, you must also consider the return trip. The gravitational pull of Jupiter has been used to the advantage of every launched mission. You might have to wait a little after arriving at Saturn for Jupiter to be in the right position to power the spaceship. Additionally, we must safely arrive at Saturn. Many challenges would face astronauts. Radiation is among the most hazardous. Space travelers must safeguard themselves against galactic cosmic rays, which have the potential to cause cancer and genetic damage, in addition to the ongoing radiation attack from the Sun, which is unabated by our magnetosphere. Long-term space travel will provide a number of psychological difficulties for astronauts. Anxiety brought on by prolonged space travel can make relationships with other crew members more challenging. These symptoms are exacerbated by isolation from loved ones and friends, as well as by a regular work routine. Even though they receive this training, astronauts do so on Earth. Your perspective changes when you are outside of our home planet and see the blue marble circling the Sun. These difficulties will be mastered and improved upon in the following years thanks to NASA's new generation suits and the upcoming Artemis missions. How long it will take to get to Saturn is a complex question, as we discussed in this video. Even though New Horizons broke records and completed the journey in under 2 years, scientists still hope to speed up the process by using more powerful engines and more effective flight maneuvers. In the future, it may take much less time to get to Saturn, and interplanetary travel may be as easy as going on a foreign vacation. We never know, especially with the way technology is developing so quickly. What do you make of the idea of visiting Saturn for a vacation? When will humans attempt a voyage to Saturn at all? Share the video with your friends and let us know what you think in the comments section down below.